She begged me to move 1,000 miles away and give up my career. Then I uncovered her secret conversations with her ex and a mountain of debt she'd been hiding. But that wasn't even the biggest bombshell. I'm in a really tough spot and could use some advice. I'm Reggie, 25M, and my fiancée is Susie, 21F. We've been together for about 14 months and engaged for the last 6 of those. We're currently living 1,000 miles apart, which has been really challenging. Susie and I met through mutual friends when she was visiting my city for a music festival. I wasn't planning to go, but my buddy Tom had an extra ticket and convinced me to join at the last minute. I'm not usually spontaneous, but something told me to go for it. That decision changed my life. Susie was friends with Tom's girlfriend, Zoe. We all met up at the festival, and Susie and I hit it off immediately. We spent the whole weekend together talking about everything from our favorite bands to our hopes and dreams. I learned that Susie was studying psychology and dreamed of becoming a therapist to help kids from troubled backgrounds. She told me about her own difficult childhood. Her parents went through a messy divorce when she was young, and she struggled with anxiety as a result. I opened up about my own past too, including losing my mom to cancer when I was in high school. By the end of the weekend, I felt like I'd known Susie my whole life. When she went back home, we kept talking constantly. We'd spend hours on the phone every night, and I found myself looking forward to those calls more than anything else. After a month of this, we decided to make it official and try long distance. I work as a software engineer at a major tech company. I've been there for 3 years and have been climbing the ranks quickly. I love my job. It's challenging, rewarding, and pays really well. I've always been career-focused, partly because of my dad. He worked 2 jobs to support us after my mom died, and he instilled in me the importance of financial stability. Susie is still in college, studying psychology. She told me she had a full scholarship that covered all her expenses. I was really impressed by that. Susie is smart as a whip, and I was proud to be with someone so accomplished. At first, I had a good amount of savings and was able to visit Susie pretty frequently. I'd take time off work and drive the 1,000 miles to see her every couple months. The drive was long, but I enjoyed it. I'd listen to audiobooks or call Susie, and the hours would fly by. I also flew out a few times when I couldn't get as much time off. Susie flew to see me a handful of times too. During one of my visits, I surprised Susie with a weekend getaway to a cute bed and breakfast in the mountains. We went, hiking, had picnics by a lake, and spent hours just talking and laughing. On our last night there, under a sky full of stars, I proposed. It wasn't a fancy proposal. The ring was simple, and I stumbled over my words. But Susie said it was perfect. She said yes, and we were both over the moon. The problem is, all the time off started affecting my job performance and income. My boss, who had always been supportive, started making comments about my decreased productivity. I was missing deadlines and not contributing as much to team projects. My savings dwindled, and I even had to borrow money from Susie a couple times to make my car payments. I hated having to depend on her financially, but she insisted it was okay since her scholarship covered everything and she had some savings from a part-time job at the campus library. We've talked a lot about moving in together to solve the distance problem. Initially, we were both open to either of us relocating. I looked into transferring to my company's office near Susie's school, but the pay would be less than half what I'm making now. Plus, the cost of living in her city is much higher. Susie checked out some schools in my area too. Here's where things get complicated. Susie just found out she can graduate a year early if she stays at her current school. Apparently, she's been taking extra classes and doing summer sessions without telling me. Also, she could finish faster and we could be together sooner. The program she got into in my state would actually take her an extra year to finish. Now she's adamant about staying where she is and wants me to be the one to move. I get why she wants to finish school faster, but moving to her state would be a huge hit to my career and finances. We'd be struggling to make ends meet on my lower salary, especially in a higher cost of living area. Plus, I'd be giving up great opportunities for advancement at my current job. I've been working on a big project that could lead to a promotion if it goes well. I suggested she finish her degree where she is, and then we could reassess and decide where to settle down together. But Susie says she can't handle another 2 years of long distance and feels like I'm choosing money over her. She pointed out all the sacrifices she's made, taking extra classes, working part-time to afford plane tickets, helping me financially when I was short on cash. We're both frustrated and at an impasse. Neither of us wants to end the relationship, but we can't agree on a solution that doesn't require one of us to make a huge sacrifice. I know Susie resents that I'm hesitating to move for her. She keeps bringing up all the times she helped me financially and says it's my turn to sacrifice something. But I feel like working hard and building my career is for our future together. I want us to be financially stable when we start our life together, maybe even start a family someday. The last time we talked about it, things got heated. Susie accused me of not being as committed to the relationship as she is. She said if I really loved her, I'd be willing to move without hesitation. I got defensive and said something I regret. I told her she didn't understand the real world yet because she was still a student. Susie hung up on me, and we haven't really talked since, just a few tense text messages. I love Susie, and I thought she was the one. But now I'm starting to wonder if we're too different, if our priorities are just not aligned. Am I being selfish for not wanting to derail my career? Should I just suck it up and move to be with Susie? Or is it reasonable to ask her to wait until she graduates? I keep thinking about my dad and how hard he worked to provide for us after my mom died. I always swore I'd be financially stable so my future family wouldn't have to struggle like we did. But I also can't bear the thought of losing Susie. Has anyone been in a similar situation and found a good compromise? Any advice would be really appreciated. I'm worried we're headed for a breakup if we can't figure this out, and the thought of that is tearing me apart. Update 1. Hey Reddit. Thanks for all the responses to my original post. A lot has happened since then, and I wanted to give you all an update. After reading your comments and doing a lot of thinking, I decided to have a serious talk with Susie about our future. I drove up to see her, wanting to have this conversation in person. I explained my concerns about moving and the financial strain it would put on us. I also told her how much it bothered me that she seemed to be dismissing my career goals. Well, that conversation did not go how I expected. At first, Susie seemed relieved that I had come to talk things out. We went for a walk in the park near her apartment, the same park where we had our first kiss during one of my visits. But as I started explaining my perspective, Susie got really defensive and angry. She accused me of never really being committed to our relationship and said I was using my job as an excuse. She brought up every time I had to cancel a visit due to work, every time I was distracted, on a call because of a looming deadline. I tried to explain that I was working hard for our future, but Susie wasn't having it. Then she dropped a bombshell. She admitted that she had been talking to her ex-boyfriend, Kyle, who lives in her city. Apparently, they've been reconnecting for the past couple of months. Susie swore nothing physical had happened, but she confessed to having feelings for him again. I was completely blindsided. Kyle was Susie's high school sweetheart. They dated for 3 years before breaking up when Susie left for college. She had told me they ended on good terms, but weren't in touch anymore. Finding out they were talking again felt like a punch to the gut. Susie said Kyle understood her in a way I never could. He was studying to be a teacher and shared her passion for helping kids. She said he was willing to support her dreams unconditionally, unlike me, who always had to consider the practical side of things. I was hurt and angry, but I tried to keep my cool. I asked Susie if she wanted to work on our relationship or if she wanted to be with Kyle. She couldn't give me a straight answer. She just kept saying she was confused and needed time to think. I told her I wasn't going to wait around while she decided between me and another guy. I said I deserved someone who was fully committed to me, not someone who runs to an ex when things get tough. Susie started crying, saying she never meant to hurt me and that she still loved me. We spent hours talking in that park, going in circles. Susie would apologize one minute, then defend her actions the next. She said she felt neglected in our relationship, that the distance was killing her. She admitted that when Kyle reached out to catch up, it felt good to have someone physically present who cared about her. I was torn between anger at her betrayal and understanding of her loneliness. I remembered how hard the distance had been on me, too, how there were nights I wished I could just hold Susie instead of talking to her through a screen. As the sun began to set, Susie asked if we could go back to her apartment to continue talking. But I knew I needed some space to process everything. I told her I was going to get a hotel room for the night and that we could talk more tomorrow. Back in my hotel room, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying our conversation in my head, wondering how we had gotten to this point. I thought about all the plans we had made, the small wedding we wanted, the house we dreamed of buying, even the names we had picked out for our future kids. It felt like all of that was crumbling around me. The next morning, I met Susie for coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept either. She started by apologizing again, saying she had made a huge mistake. She promised to cut off all contact with Kyle and said she'd do whatever it took to make our relationship work. But at this point, I don't know if I can trust her again. I asked her how long this had been going on, and she admitted it started around the time we had that big fight about moving. She said she was hurt and confused, and talking to Kyle made her feel better. I'm back home now, trying to process everything. Part of me wants to try and work things out with Susie. We've been through so much together, and I really thought she was the one. But another part of me feels like this betrayal is too big to get past. I'm also angry at myself for not seeing the signs. Looking back, there were definitely red flags I ignored. Susie had been more distant lately, always on her phone, and getting defensive when I asked about her day. I chalked it up to stress from school, but now I realize what was really going on. I haven't made any final decisions yet. Susie's been calling and texting nonstop, alternating between apologizing and accusing me of overreacting. I've told her I need some space to think. I'm not sure what to do next. Do I try to forgive Susie and work on rebuilding trust? Or is this a sign that we're just not meant to be? The thought of breaking up is painful, but the thought of always wondering if she's talking to Kyle again is equally unbearable. I keep thinking about my mom and how she always told me to follow my heart. But right now, my heart feels shattered and confused. Any advice on how to move forward would be appreciated. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. Things have taken an even crazier turn since my last post. After a few days of minimal contact, Susie showed up at my apartment unannounced. She had driven the entire 1,000 miles overnight, saying she needed to talk to me in person. I was shocked to see her, especially since she had finals coming up. Susie was a mess, crying, sleep-deprived, and clearly not in a good state. Her hair was disheveled, and she was wearing the sweatshirt of mine that she always used to sleep in when we were together. Seeing her like this brought back a flood of emotions. She begged me to forgive her and take her back. She swore she had cut off all contact with Kyle and said she realized I was the only one she wanted to be with. She talked about all. Our memories together, our first date at that little Italian restaurant, the time we got caught in a rainstorm and ended up dancing in the puddles, the quiet nights we spent planning our future. I was conflicted. Part of me was touched that she had come all this way, but another part felt like this was a manipulative move to pressure me into taking her back. I told Susie I appreciated her coming, but I still needed time to think. That's when things got really weird. Susie said she had something to confess. Apparently, she had lied about her scholarship situation. She wasn't on a full ride like she had claimed. In reality, she had taken out massive student loans and was in serious debt. The reason she was so adamant about me moving to her city wasn't just about finishing school faster. She needed my income to help pay off her loans. She had been counting on us getting married so she could use my better credit to refinance her debt. I was floored. This whole time, Susie had been lying about her financial situation and basically planning to use me to fix her money problems. When I confronted her about why she lied, she broke down completely. Through her tears, Susie revealed that her parents had cut her off financially when she decided to major in psychology instead of pre-med like they wanted. They had always pushed her to become a doctor, saying it was the only way to have a stable future. But Susie was passionate about psychology and wanted to help people in a different way. She had been too ashamed to tell me the truth and thought she could figure it out on her own. When that didn't work, she saw me as her ticket out of debt. She said she convinced herself that once we were married, it wouldn't matter whose debt it was because we'd be a team. I was reeling from all this new information. The Susie I thought I knew was crumbling before my eyes. I realized I didn't really know her at all. All those times she helped me financially, she was actually putting herself further into debt. I told Susie she needed to leave. I couldn't deal with her lies and manipulation anymore. She begged me to let her stay, saying she had nowhere else to go, but I stood firm. I called her a cab to a nearby hotel and told her she needed to figure things out on her own. As she was leaving, Susie dropped one final bombshell. She thinks she might be pregnant. She's not sure, but her period is late, and she's been feeling sick. She swears if she is pregnant, it's mine. I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't know what to believe anymore. Part of me thinks the pregnancy thing might be one last, desperate attempt to keep me in her life. But if it's true, that changes everything. I've told Susie to take a pregnancy test and let me know the results. Until then, I'm trying to process everything that's happened. I feel like my whole relationship was built on lies, and I don't know how to move forward from here. I keep thinking about all the plans we made, all the dreams we shared. Were any of them real, or was it all just a scheme to solve her financial problems? I'm questioning every moment of our relationship, wondering what else might have been a lie. I haven't told any of my friends or family about this yet. I'm embarrassed and ashamed that I didn't see through Susie's deception. I keep wondering if there were signs I missed, red flags I ignored because I was so in love. Any advice on how to handle this mess would be appreciated. I'm lost and don't know what to do next. Update 3. Hey Reddit, I'm back with what I hope will be my final update on this situation. After my last post, I insisted that Susie take a pregnancy test while I was present. It came back negative. I made her take another one the next day just to be sure, and it was also negative. I suspect she was never really late and just said that to try and keep me from leaving her. Once the pregnancy scare was over, I told Susie that our relationship was done for good. There was just too much deception and manipulation for me to ever trust her again. She cried and pleaded, bringing up all our good memories and promising to change. But I stood my ground. I helped Susie book a flight back to her city and drove her to the airport. The car ride was silent and tense. As we pulled up to the departures area, Susie turned to me with tears in her eyes. She apologized again for everything and said she never meant to hurt me. Before she left, she asked if we could stay friends. I told her I needed a clean break and that it would be best if we didn't contact each other anymore. Susie nodded, understanding but clearly heartbroken. As she got out of the car, she hesitated for a moment, then leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. I really did love you, Reggie, she whispered before grabbing her bag and walking away. I watched her disappear into the airport, feeling a mix of sadness, anger, and relief. Since then, I've been focusing on myself and my career. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects and staying late at the office. My boss noticed the change and even hinted at a potential promotion. While the work has been a good distraction, I knew I needed to deal with my emotions too. I started seeing a therapist to work through everything that happened. It's been tough revisiting all the lies and betrayal, but it's also been helpful. I'm learning to trust my instincts more and set better boundaries. The hardest part has been dealing with the loneliness. Despite everything, I miss having someone to talk to at the end of the day. I miss the future we had planned together. but I know ending things was the right decision. Susie has tried to reach out a few times through mutual friends. At first, they would pass along messages about how sorry she was and how much she missed me. I asked them to stop, explaining that I needed a clean break. Most of them understood, but one friend, Zoe, the one who originally introduced us, keeps trying to convince me to give Susie another chance. She says Susie is truly sorry and has changed. I've had to distance myself from Zoe too, which has been another loss to deal with. I heard through the grapevine that Susie dropped out of school and moved back in with her parents. Apparently, she's working at a local daycare center while she figures out her next steps. Part of me feels bad for her, knowing how much she wanted to finish her degree. But I know I made the right decision in ending things. Her choices and actions were her own, and I can't be responsible for fixing her life. This whole experience has been a harsh lesson in the importance of honesty and communication in relationships. I've learned that love isn't enough if there isn't trust and shared values to back it up. I'm definitely going to be more cautious about rushing into things in the future. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I've started reconnecting with old friends I had neglected while focused on my relationship with Susie. I've even joined a local hiking group to get out of the house more on weekends. It's not always easy, and there are still days when I miss what Susie and I had, or what I thought we had. But overall, I'm feeling more positive about the future. I'm not ready to start dating again yet, but I'm hopeful that when the time comes, I'll be able to build a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. Until then, I'm focusing on being the best version of myself I can be. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and support throughout this crazy journey. Your words have been a source of strength and clarity during some really tough moments. I'm looking forward to closing this chapter of my life and seeing what comes next.